So in Chapter 2, I'm going to go over the different kinds of sentences in English. What is a sentence? Words are combined to make up sentences. A sentence is a complete thought. Almost everything you read is made up of sentences. Every word in a sentence is, of course, one of the 8 parts of speech. A sentence might contain more than one instance of a certain part of speech. For example, 4 nouns, or 3 verbs, or 5 adjectives. And a sentence does not need to contain all parts of speech. In fact, hardly any sentence would contain all 8 parts of speech. Remember that each word in a sentence is one of the 8 parts of speech. Each word in a sentence also performs a certain function in the sentence. These functions will also be described in this chapter. The function of a word performs in a sentence is not always the same as parts of speech. Parts of speech refers only to these 8 words: nouns, pronouns, verb, adjective, and article, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interaction. Knowing how sentences are formed and what a sentence requires will help your writing. Every sentence has a subject. The subject is the who or what that sentence is about. The subject of the sentence is always a noun or pronoun. The subject is usually whatever or whoever is doing the action of the verb. The subject is often the first word in a sentence, but not always. There are sometimes introductory words or phrases or clauses. However, the subject usually does come before the verb it belongs to, wherever that might be in the sentence. Every sentence needs a subject. To find the subject, first find the verb and ask who is doing the action. If there are 2 subjects generally joined with a conjunction, for example, we call that a compound subject. The man tied his shoes. So here, the man is the subject. Tied is the verb. His shoes is the object. The subject usually comes before the verb, while the object comes after the verb. Complete subjects. Sometimes adjectives or phrases are part of a subject, along with the noun or pronoun. The entire subject is called the complete subject. For example, the girl in the blue dress. That's known as a complete subject. This whole thing, so you've got the noun, which is the girl, in the blue dress is a prepositional phrase. So you have a noun plus a prepositional phrase, and both of them are the complete subject. And anything after the verb is known as the complete predicate. So the verb is the borderline between complete subject and complete predicate. In the above sentence, the girl in the blue dress is the complete sentence, is the complete subject. The verb phrase simply refers to the verb and any helping verb with it, which also is called simple predicate. The complete predicate is walking towards the school, which is the whole sentence without the complete subject. So here you have a simple sentence. Okay, you have a simple sentence, the complete subject, the girl in the blue dress, and then you've got the complete predicate, is walking toward the school. So basically, this is a simple sentence because this whole thing is a subject and this whole thing is a verb. Predicate. The predicate of the sentence is the verb. So anything after the verb is the predicate. Anything before the verb is a subject. So the predicate of the sentence is the verb. The verb, along with any helping verbs it may have, is called the simple predicate. The complete predicate is actually the whole sentence except for the subject. And every sentence needs at least one verb. If it's missing a verb, then it becomes a sentence fragment. So everyone went on the trip to the city. So everyone is the subject or complete subject. Went on the field trip to the city. That whole thing is a predicate. Okay? I climbed the mountain and then I was very tired. Here you have I is the subject, verb is climbed, the mountain is object, subject, verb, object. This whole thing is an independent clause. Then you have a coordinating conjunction, I was very tired. And this is another independent clause. When you have two sentences together, joined together with a coordinating conjunction, it's a compound sentence. So you've got your subject, which is before the verb. Then after the verb, you've got the predicate. And then you've got objects. Objects, just like the predicate, comes after the verb. So like subjects, objects are always nouns or pronouns, or groups of words that function as a noun. Unlike subjects and verbs, sentences do not need to have objects to be complete sentences. That happens if you have an intransitive verb in the sentence, because transitive verbs, as we studied in chapter 1, those verbs need a direct object, but intransitive verbs do not need an object. So that's why sometimes you can have a verb, you can have a sentence with no objects. So there are three kinds of objects in a sentence. You've got the direct object, indirect object, and objects of preposition. A sentence can have any combination of these three objects, and all of these objects come after the verb. Direct object is usually the noun right after the verb. So direct objects receive the action of the verb. If you ask what or who about the verb, the answer will be the direct object. I threw the ball. So what exactly did you throw again? You threw the ball. And so therefore, the ball is the direct object. We ate pizza. What did you eat? Pizza. So pizza is the direct object. I wrote 3 papers. What did you write? 3 papers. Papers is the direct object. We walked to the movies. You walked where? What? And so we don't know if they walked, in Los Angeles or Las Vegas. We just know they went to the movies. So the sentence doesn't answer the question. So this is an example of an intransitive verb because there is no direct object. You might think to the movies would be a direct object, but actually to the movies is a prepositional phrase. So that makes movies the object of the preposition. So that makes it the third kind of object. Remember, there are 3 kinds of objects. Direct object comes directly after the verb. Then you've got the indirect object, which would be not in this example. Where is it? Not here. Okay, we ate. I gave money to Joan. Money would be the direct object. To Joan would be the indirect object. Okay, so indirect object is also after the verb, but not directly after the verb. That makes it an indirect object. So here you have object of a preposition. So we walked around the block. Where did you walk around the block? So around the block, so the dog is the direct object. So subject is we, walked is verb, direct object is the dog. Around the block is a prepositional phrase. So the block is the object of the preposition. So this sentence has 2 objects. You have a direct object, and then you have the object of the preposition. So as you already read, verbs that have a direct object are called transitive verbs. Verbs without a direct object are called intransitive verbs. Some verbs can be transitive while others can be intransitive. Okay, so there's a list. You can Google yourself transitive verb list. So you can find out which verbs always take a direct object, and then you can Google yourself a list. Intransitive verbs, so you know which verbs do not take a direct object. And I think we're about to go into indirect objects. Yeah. Okay, so indirect objects don't directly come after the verb. Usually you have the verb, have something else, then you have the object. So when you have something else in between, then that's called an indirect object. If the verb comes directly after the verb, it's a direct object. So indirect object come between the verb and the direct object. You cannot have an indirect object unless you also have a direct object, but you can have a direct object without an indirect. What does that mean? It means that in a sentence, you can have subject, verb, direct object, period. You cannot have subject, verb, and indirect object, and that's it. That does not exist. You always have to have subject, verb, object in order to have an indirect object. That's what they're saying. So I threw the ball. The ball is the direct object because you threw what? You threw the ball. Jane ate 3 pieces of cake. The direct object is pieces. Ate what? Ate. The direct object is not cake because cake is part of the prepositional phrase. You won't find a direct or indirect object in a prepositional phrase. So in a prepositional phrase, you would find the object of the preposition. So in this sentence, I threw the ball. So the ball is a direct object because it comes right after the verb. At James. So James can be the indirect object and it is the object of the preposition, both in this particular sentence. Okay, so that particular sentence has both. I gave her a gift. Okay, this one is a little bit, okay, in this case, I gave to her. You see, in English, you're supposed to say, I gave to her a gift. But we don't say the to anymore because to is understood. So I gave her a gift. Gift is the direct object. Her is the indirect object. Because if I could write this out on the board, it would be so much easier. Anyway, so normally, okay, in a normal sentence, I, subject, gave, verb, direct object, a gift to her. So this is not correct. This is conversational English. In written correct English, I would say, I gave a gift to her. Therefore, gift would be the direct object, and then to her would be the indirect object because the to is understood. But in conversational English, you can switch the direct and indirect objects around. So you could say in conversational English, I gave her a gift. But no matter what, even if you switch it around, her is still an indirect object because the to is understood. I gave to her a gift, or I gave a gift to her. Mom baked me a cake. The direct object is cake, because what did you bake? You baked a cake. But then for, Mom baked a cake for me. And so the correct sentence would be Mom, subject, verb, baked a cake. Direct object, for me, would be the indirect object, and also it's the object of the preposition. But for is understood, just like to is understood. Nobody says it anymore. So then you switch it around, and in conversational English, you can say, Mom baked me a cake. It's very conversational English. And so some verbs lend themselves to having indirect objects, but there are many verbs that will never have an indirect object. It is rare to make a grammatical mistake with indirect objects, so don't worry. Do note, however, that the following 2 sentences mean the same thing. That's what I was trying to say. I gave a gift to her. I gave her a gift. Means the same thing. So here's the same example. She gave me the tickets to the concert. So this is conversational English. You want to write like this. Subject, subject, verb, the tickets, direct object, to the concert to me. Prepositional phrase with your indirect object. So when you want to write completely correct, use this one. Subject, verb, direct object, prepositional phrase. If you want to be like conversational and talk to your friends, then you use this one. So in the first sentence, me is the indirect object, tickets is the direct object. In the second sentence, there is no indirect object. To me is a prepositional phrase. Some people call it an indirect object anyway. That's why I said it can be either one. This can either be, or both, an object of the preposition, and it is an indirect object. So it doesn't matter how you write this sentence, it means the same thing. And it only changed because that's how people talk. Object of a preposition. So we talked about, an object of the preposition, in other words, a preposition shows time and place. And so a preposition of words like in, out, up, down, with, along, between. So then if you write in the store, then the store is the object of the preposition. Out the house. She walked out of the house. And so the house is the object of the preposition. He walked up the hill. Then hill, up the hill, hill would be the object of the preposition. So a prepositional phrase consists of a preposition, for example, in, out, up, down, anything that shows time and place, followed by an article, a, and, the, like he walked up the hill, and then always followed by a noun or pronoun, like hill. So this noun or pronoun is the object of the preposition. And so here, Jimmy ran up the stairs. Stairs is the object of the preposition up. In Paris, we saw the Eiffel Tower. And so in is the preposition, and then Paris is the object of the preposition. Sometimes something is stuck between the pages. Here, between is the preposition, and then pages is the object of the preposition. Predicate words. Linking verbs do not have objects because linking verbs function as equal signs in a sentence. There is no receiver of the action of the verb. So examples of predicate words. Linking verbs have predicate adjectives and predicate nominatives, nouns that may look like objects. We will talk more about predicate nominatives when we talk about pronoun cases. Here are some examples of predicate adjectives. I am a writer. So I is the subject. Am is a linking verb, a state of different names. It means a non-action verb. And it just states a state of being. So I am a writer. So am is a linking verb. Writer, so writer is not an object because linking verbs do not take objects. Since writer is a noun, it is called a predicate nominative. I am happy. And so because happy is an adjective, this is known as a predicate adjective. Remember, a predicate is anything that comes after the verb. So here you would say predicate nominative because writer is a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Happy, so it comes after the verb. And happy modifies a noun. And then anything after the verb is a predicate. So this is known as a predicate adjective. It seems cold outside. Seems is a linking verb. It's also known as a state of verb. In other words, it's not an action. It states something of being. It describes a being, It's not something that you're doing. It's something that you're being or feeling. So it seems cold. Seems is a linking verb, so there is no object. And cold is a adjective, and it modifies outside. And so cold is a predicate adjective. The cookie tastes stale. Stale is an adjective, so this is a predicate adjective. The dress looks beautiful on you. And so beautiful is an adjective. Therefore, this is a predicate adjective. The cookies look terrible. This is a predicate adjective. I baked these cookies last night. This is subject, verb, and direct object. She is, and this is an action verb. So action verb makes it transitive. Okay, so transitive verbs always take some kind of object. What did you bake? If I just simply say, I baked. You baked what? I baked these cookies last night. She is tall, but her brother is even taller. And so she is tall. So tall is a predicate adjective, but her brother is even taller. Another predicate adjective. So you get the idea. So predicate words. So, we just went through that. So the 4 kinds of sentences. So you can have a declarative sentence. A declarative sentence, like your thesis statement, for example, makes a statement and generally has a period at the end of it. I am changing jobs next week. We all enjoyed the concert last night. Interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence is a fancy name for a sentence that asks a question. This type of sentence would generally end with a question mark. Which movie do you want to see? Did you ask her if she has the report ready? And so anything that ends in a question mark is an interrogative sentence. An imperative sentence is when you tell someone to do something, when you're the one giving the order, and it has a you, it implies you, and it implies second person case. And it's used a lot in technical writing and process essays. So imperative sentence is a fancy name for a sentence that gives a command. These sentences usually end with a period. Please do your chores now. Go to the store and get some salad for dinner. When you look at most commands, they do not seem to have a subject. For example, you might tell your dog, sit. While this may not look like a sentence, it is a sentence. Most commands do not have a subject that's visible, but there is an implied subject. That's what I meant by saying the implied subject is you. And so it's like if you were to point your invisible finger and say, you, please do your chores now. You go to the store and get some salad for dinner. And so because imperative sentences have this command like you're ordering someone to do something, this is the reason why we don't use second person case in our academic essays, because we don't want to tell the reader what to do, because that's kind of rude. So that's why we try to avoid second person case. We try avoiding you and your, and we only use third person case for a more professional tone. An exclamatory sentence. This expresses emotion, just like interjections. So interjections are just simply words like, wow, oh my gosh. It's just a word. So therefore, it is an interjection. But if you have a whole sentence like subject, verb, object, then exclamation point, and you're stating an emotion, that's known as an exclamatory sentence. Exclamatory sentences end in an exclamation point. So because it expresses emotion. So there is a fire in the garage. Don't crash into the car. What do you think you're doing? Exclamation point. So those are all exclamation points. Imperative. So the 4 kinds of sentences: declarative sentence, in which you just make a statement. Interrogative sentence, you ask a question. Imperative sentence, you give an order. Exclamatory sentence, you express emotion. Look at that huge cat. Exclamatory sentence. I saw a cat in those bushes. Declarative sentence. There's a train coming. Exclamatory sentence. Did you see the cat hiding in the bushes? Interrogative sentence. Try to get the cat out of the bushes. Imperative sentence. So those are different kinds of sentences, and that is the end of chapter 2. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.